What's up, guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of Final Fantasy VI. I think we're on episode 13, if I'm not mistaken. It's been at least a couple weeks since my last upload for this playthrough. I'm sorry, guys. I really haven't had much time on my hands, and when I do, I'm just kind of meh. You know what I'm saying? But actually, I have done quite a few Final Fantasy VI sessions lately. I've probably got enough recordings to pump out 7-8 episodes or so. And my last few sessions were super enjoyable. This one was pretty hilarious, to be honest, and in many, many ways. The humor in this game is sort of lost in translation a lot of times. Either that, or it's incredibly goofy, and most of the humor is pretty goofy anyway, but a lot of the humor from, I think, this point on in Sabin's scenario, at least, is really, really charming. I found myself with just a huge smile on my face, or laughing out loud, sometimes at myself, more so than the game, especially this part of the Phantom Train. And some of you may have been waiting for me to die. Well, I think I'll probably stop there. I don't want to spoil anything. But what I will say is that I have been getting my ass kicked a little bit. Obviously I haven't done much in the way of leveling, but let me go ahead and cut myself off, because here we have Siegfried here. This guy swoops in and just starts insulting Sabin. That's not the best idea. And then Sabin retorts and says that he looks like a manicurist. I pretty much lost it at that. That's something I didn't remember in the dialogue there, but pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Siegfried, this guy is pretty much weak sauce. As you can see, 3 damage. Interceptor comes in and literally one-shots him. That's it. That's Siegfried right there, man. He's one tough customer, let me tell you. But that doesn't really stop him from being one annoying son of a bitch. Look at this. Just look at this. I'm the greatest! Just swoops in, snatches the treasure, and then calls us cretins, just for good measure, just a final stab in the gut there as he flees. Rest assured, we're gonna get revenge on Siegfried in the, not the near future, but in events to come. We'll be meeting that guy again, and we'll definitely get some payback. But, this session, the Phantom Train here, there are a couple things to note. There's sort of a mini-boss coming up, if you so desire. I believe it is called Spectre, and it's actually one of those notorious monster-in-a-box tricks. And, there's not a whole lot to the fight. I think that I probably got very lucky in this particular fight, because if I'm not mistaken, he has a chance to retaliate for massive damage. I think he's got something like Bolt or Bolt 2, which can kind of hit like a truck, or maybe it's lightning. I'm not 100% on that, but it's a proc-based retaliation, and I think I got pretty lucky. I don't think he used it on me a single time, and if he did, it was only once, and it was just sort of just kind of negligible damage, and he was pretty much dead at the end of the battle. Oh, and speak of the devil, here he is right here. Now, one thing to note, and I'm sorry if you guys heard that, I had to kind of adjust my headset a little bit. Man, doing these commentaries is kind of messed up. I feel like I have to sit as still as a statue here in order to, get maximum audio effect. But that's a separate issue. Let me get back to these undead creatures like Spectre and actually the final boss of this stage, which is the Phantom Train. Sorry for the spoiler there, guys, but most of you probably knew it was coming, even if you hadn't played Final Fantasy VI. But yeah, there's a Hyper Wrist right there. That's our reward. It's pretty crappy. I make very poor use out of it right now. In fact, all of my relics are poorly assembled, as you will see, very poorly assembled, and I pay for that a little bit in the near future. In fact, my rowing is all out of sorts too, and it takes me maybe until the next episode or two to actually rearrange my relics and start doing things a little bit more properly. But anyway, the undead bosses here, guys. If you so desire, they can be literally one-shotted by a Phoenix down, okay? Now that goes for the Spectre, it also goes for the Phantom Train. I don't do any of that stuff, and honestly, if you choose not to go that route, if you choose not to use, sort of, the sketchy means of getting by the battle, you can actually have quite an interesting fight on your hands, especially with the Phantom Train. Oh man, there's one of my first deaths, I think, in the playthrough, and that kind of shows how dangerous those bombs can be, man. They're actually a very useful rage creature for one of our characters that we're about to acquire pretty soon, and I won't even get into that just yet. That's at least another episode down the road. But a lot of the creatures on the Phantom Train actually become very useful in the future for one of our unacquired characters. But here we go, man. We have a little save point here, and this is going to basically be preparations for the final boss battle, which is right here, actually. You kind of have to go in this little train cart, flip a few switches in specific order, and what this is going to do is allow you to try to stop the train, but the train is going to have plans of its own, unfortunately for us. But one thing to note about this battle, assuming you don't one-shot the Phantom Train with the Phoenix down, is it can either be a pretty easy fight, or it can be an incredibly difficult fight. It is completely random, and from what I understand about this boss, it will open up with this ability, at least from my experience. This boss tends to open up with an ability that puts status elements on random characters. Sometimes the elements are kind of negligible. You don't really have to worry about it. It might hinder you a little bit, and here's the ability right here. Guys, this was probably the worst thing that could have happened to me. I believe I get poison on Shadow. No poison. Just a small amount of damage on Shadow. I think he was able to... no, he did get poisoned. Never mind. But now we have Sabin, who is clearly berserk, and I know that I can't do anything about that right now. So it sucks, but it's the least of my worries. Right now I'm freaking out, because I see that Saiyan is confused. I think it's called Muddle in this game, and I'm thinking, man, do I have something to cure this? And I really wanted to slap myself after I realized how you're supposed to take care of this. It just kind of clicked, and it didn't click until it happened to me again, and I was like, oh, I remember what you do with this. It's so simple. All you have to do is just smack that character, and he'll revert out of his confused state. You'll have complete control of him again. But I was flustered right here, and as a result, my own teammate just starts going to town on me. I'm in all kinds of trouble. I'm having to wheel and deal. I get a potion on Shadow just in time, pretty much. I mean, he was on the verge of death. I get hit with this acid rain yet again. Boom! Sabin gets taken out. Cyan gets taken out, killing himself at the very last moment. That last shuriken was able to take out the Phantom Train. Holy crap, guys. That was the closest I've come to a death so far. That was a really, really poorly handled fight, mind you. But that evil toot, man, combined with the acid rain, that's a no-joke boss fight. Alright? I mean, I haven't done any extra leveling, any extra preparation, and as I mentioned earlier, my relic combos are terrible right now. I'm actually ashamed of myself a little bit, just how bad my team is put together at this point. But I can assure you, I turned that around pretty quickly. But anyway, Lady Luck was on my side for that boss fight, and luckily, I can get the hell out of there with my life intact. Sabin and Cyan both tasted it in the heat of battle, but luckily, my boy Shadow, man, holy hell, he was putting in work that fight. He was deflecting all kinds of attacks that would have otherwise been a killing blow on him in those crucial moments as well. Oh man, such a cool moment right there. Such a badass moment, and I can tell you, I was really happy that the battle turned out that way, because it kind of reminded me that I do actually have quite a few interesting battles to look forward to. A lot of this game, it can be a cakewalk, it really can be, but if you're not, super concerned with min-maxing your characters, with putting those deadly relic combos together and pretty much the worst thing you can do in terms of eliminating any semblance of difficulty is to over-level yourself, and that's something I've been consciously avoiding. But anyway, I sort of talked over a important scene for Cyan there. He gets a little bit of closure, I suppose. He sees his wife and son, his deceased wife and son, boarding the Phantom train, taking their journey to the afterlife, I suppose. Sort of a touching moment, but this does provide a little bit of closure for dear Cyan, and you gotta feel bad for the guy. You really, really do. Even Shadow feels bad for the guy. Man, that's when you know that shit is pretty heavy. Excuse the language. But anyway, guys, I have run out of time. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you shortly on the next episode.